Okay, so time has flown. I'm now nearly at my Bob Graham attempt, and I'm making the final preparations for what we're going to do, including sport team and taper, last bit of training, all that kind of stuff. I'm recording this about 8 days away from when we're going to be meeting at Moot Hall on Friday the 10th, meeting about 6:30 to leave at 7 p.m. to try and complete a Bob Graham in 23 hours. So really excited. Maybe we're ready to go. So did my last video about 5 weeks ago. So in this one, I'm going to talk through what I've done over the last month, what I've done to prepare for the Bob Graham and what my plans are for the taper and how I'm feeling in advance of the day. So yeah, I last uploaded a video at the end of May. So it's been about 5 weeks of training since then. That's included some normal club sessions at my club at Elvet Striders in Durham, including the annual club handicap, some running around Durham City where I'd intended to do loads of elevation but felt awful, and then a trip down to see some family and friends down south. My sister lives in Somerset, so wherever you run from her back door there's elevation, so even short runs and a run with my nephew meant some kind of meaningful climbs. The following week after that, we were visiting friends where my wife grew up in Berkhamsted, so we're again just trying to hunt for climbs near there, including an hour of hill repeats, and then out to a hill called Tom's Hill. You've got to do that if you're called Tom, which is about a 15-minute drive away from where we were staying. And at the end of that week, saw me and Esther head over to the Lake District with the dog, out for a recce of leg 3, and that was a good day out, 25k-ish with 1700 metres of elevation. But to be honest, some bad navigation from me meant that we missed out a whole load of the route, including the Langdale Pikes. And actually that day Esther aggravated an Achilles injury, which has kept her out of running for much of the last few weeks, which is a shame. So it was a good day on the fells, even if it wasn't what I had planned at the start. And meant I kind of kicked myself a little bit because it felt like it meant I needed to recce that part of the route again. Again, the following week had some classic runs from our back door, a tough grass session with over 300 metres of elevation, and then something that's been in the diary for a long time, since last year I guess, is the Swaledale Marathon, which is a regular on our club calendar, and it's one that loads of the fell type runners in our club show up for. I've now done it 2 years in a row and I've got the mugs to prove it. And this was a really tough day with what felt like a headwind the whole day and really bright sunshine. I managed it this year 8 minutes quicker than last year, which is a good result. I ate well around for the whole 4 hours. I ran well and it was a good run with some hilly miles and yeah, meaningful elevation. I finished 14th overall, which is a good result, even if I was 45 minutes behind the winner. And there were a bunch of my support team from the club that were there on that day, so it was good to have a catch up in person with them. The next day I'd organised to go to do a recce of the climbs of leg 5. So a bit of a shorter day, but still a tough day, particularly with the Swaledale Marathon legs. But it was great. Still a really challenging run. I've got memories from the past of going up Dale Head from Honister with my brother-in-law when I was 21, and I remember it being like an epic climb, particularly with a big bag on your back. But this, on a recce, even with tired legs, compared to other climbs on the round, Dale Head is just a joy. So we did the loop of Dale Head, Hinesgarth and Robinson, descended off Robinson to Littletown, and then back up the valley up to Dale Head again. 17k with about 1100 metres of climbing, which is again a great day out, a nice shorter day, but still meaningful. And I did that with Nick, who's going to be supporting on the day of leg 5 from the running club, and with Asher the dog, who loves a day on the fells. Following week I had a few days in London, so I joined a mate at his running club on a club night, and then spent the next few days riding around London on a Lime bike. But the end of the week was the key run this week with the big Bob Graham dress rehearsal. The well-trodden path at my club kind of recommends that what we call a 3-leg day 3 weeks before the Bob Graham, and Jeff, who kind of helps hold our hand through Bob Graham attempts, that's his key criteria before an attempt, which is time on feet, its distance and its elevation that would be equivalent to 3 legs of a Bob Graham attempt. So I set out with a run up Blencathra from Threlkeld to then recce the descent down Hallsfell. I then set out to complete leg 2, meet Esther at Dumbbell Raise for a snack, and then run up leg 3 down over to Wasdale before heading over the pass between Kirkfell and Great Gable and over to Honister. Technically not 3 legs, but more or less 3 legs. It would be about 60 kilometres and over 5,000 metres of climbing. That was the plan. Blencathra and then leg 2 flew by. I was running well, I was enjoying myself with amazing weather and a really great day out. I stopped for a while at Dunmel Raise, including eating probably too much pasta, which meant getting up to go again for Steelfell was really difficult. It's such a steep and continuous climb that it's really tough, and carrying 3 litres of water for that leg 3 section, leaving Esther and Asher behind in the car and taking on that climb, it wasn't fun, and I didn't feel good with a belly full of pasta. Esther saw me stop about 3 or 4 times, so didn't want to leave with the car and leave me behind in case I had to turn back, and she was sure I was about to turn around at different times. But I made it up the climb and I attempted the rest of the leg. My navigation was a bit better this time. I hit all the peaks, but I was really struggling at the climb to Rossett Pike. I'd slipped and jarred my knee just before then, which wasn't too sore, but I was conscious of it. And my energy was low, the heat was tough, the climb's even tougher. I made it up the non-existent path up Bow Fell and over to Great End. And I made the call at that point that, yeah, I'm struggling here. Conscious of the distance left to do before the light started to go, I made the call not to finish the rest of leg 3, so Broadcrag, Ilcrag, Scarfell Pike and Scarfell and the descent to Wasdale, but to descend from Great End down to the Styhead stretcher box and up Great Gable and do the end of leg 4. To be honest with you, at this point I felt pretty down. I hadn't done what I'd set out to do. I'd failed on that. I'd hurt my knee, my pace was poor, so another hour and a half beating myself up before meeting Esther and Asher at Honister was a tough way to finish the day. They were encouraging and really pleased to see me. It was great to see your dog wagging at you for the last 100 metres of your run. But I felt pretty down at that moment, even though it had been a great day out, 55k and 4,600 metres of elevation, 13 hours on the fells with lessons learnt, boxes ticked, loads done. But just because I didn't do that extra 5k with those last 4 peaks and that extra 500 metres of elevation, that had made me feel like I'd failed. But yeah, this was a huge achievement that day, running on my own, and it ticked much of that 3-leg day box. I'd done over 50% of the distance of a Bob Graham and 57% of the elevation on my own, carrying kit, and actually done it at a pace that would be fine for a 23-hour Bob Graham attempt. But it showed me how big a challenge I already knew this, but how big a challenge the Bob Graham really is. With much of leg 3 that's barely runnable, whether it's boulders or bogs even on a warm day with clear weather. It probably should have been a confidence boost for me, but I went into this 3-week taper with a sore knee and feeling a bit deflated. So last week, as part of the taper, I dropped my distance substantially from an 80k week to about 48k, including some tester runs for my knee, a grass session at about 80% or less effort, and then another leg 3 recce with 2 of my support team. And this time, even better lines. The navigation was much better because David, who I'm running with, knows it much better than I do. And we ran all the way to Rossett again. And again, a really hot day, but I felt good, I felt fit, and I felt happy with the pace. My knee on the weekend was still a bit sore, but doing okay. And then on Sunday I joined for a short run of the club relay on the Way of Light pilgrimage route to celebrate 40 years of Elvet Striders. A great club. Anyone in Durham should join. And then that leads us to this week, the last 2 weeks, 10 days out from my attempt. And I'll be honest with you, I've still got some soreness in my knee. It's kind of fine when I'm walking and running, but probably when I stand up from this seat with a bent knee, that's when there's a little bit of pain. So there will be lots of bending my knee to climb parts of the Bob Graham. So really now it's about resting and making sure that, that I'm not injured for the day. The fitness is there, ensuring that I'm injury free is the priority. So, yeah, how do I feel 10 days away from the Bob Graham? Well, I feel excited. I feel intimidated. I feel a little bit apprehensive and nervous, a little bit apprehensive about my knee, but I'm ready for a big day out on the fells. It's gutting to see the fitness score on Strava drop from an all-time peak for me to what looks like it's going to plummet to really low before the Bob Graham. But I need to ignore that and just stick to the plan. Now is the time for tapering, for eating, for sleeping, for being fully energized, ready before the attempt. And then this next week is all about getting things prepped. So making sure that the bags are ready for my support crew, that all the food I need is cooked or ready or bought. I've bought a race belt that I'll carry on the day, and I've got a lightweight running waterproof from Harrier that will be great on the day. I'm refreshing the weather forecast constantly, and it looks like it's going to be warm but drizzly, which is probably pretty good running weather. It does look like it's going to be very windy. Hopefully the clouds are high-ish and not ruining the views for the whole day. And I'll be this week trying to sleep well, eat well, and just make sure everything's ready to go before we head over to Threlkeld for overnight on Thursday next week. So yeah, we're nearly there. 6 months of thinking about this in detail, planning it, training for it. Over 2 years of thinking about this as a challenge for me. Maybe I'll tell that story of why I'm doing it in a future video. But yeah, we'll see. Meeting at Moot Hall at 6:30ish on Friday afternoon is going to feel really strange. But yeah, we're here. We shall see. Thanks for watching.